5 world champions on the grid, 5 rookies on the grid, 13 drivers with less than 40 starts, and we're about to get underway. 5 lights on, and it's away we go. Sebastian Vettel gets a decent start. Massa flying behind Mark Webber. Lewis Hamilton covers off Fernando Alonso as into turn 1 we go now. Nico Rosberg on the inside challenges Alonso. Vettel is clear of any trouble. Massa up to second place, and going off onto the grass there is Daniel Ricciardo in the Toro Rosso. Vettel streaming away. Hamilton under pressure from Alonso as down into turn 3 we go. Hamilton with the inside line. Massa is sandwiched in between his teammate and Hamilton, but still manages to get into second place as through to turn 4 they travel.
Great start from the Ferraris as per last year. Awful start, and Alonso came off turn 12 a lot faster than Massa, and here it is. So down into 13. Will Massa yield on his... Oh, look at that.
Big lock-up from Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Räikkönen forced wide. Lewis Hamilton just stays ahead of him, but by the skin of his teeth as they go through turn 13 and 14.
Massa kept it then, so Massa stayed ahead of Alonso. He's not yielding at all unless they tell him at some point later in the race. He will not give up, and I don't blame him. He's been flying all weekend.
So Vettel leads round the first lap and is 2 seconds clear of Felipe Massa in second place from Fernando Alonso. Here goes Kimi Räikkönen again on Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has got the inside line and just manages to stay in 4th place behind Alonso, ahead of Raikkonen in 5th. Then comes Rosberg and Webber and De Resta and Button and Sutil the top 10, with Grosjean losing places in 11 and Perez up now to 12 after starting 15th. Behind Perez comes Bottas and Verne and Maldonado and Gutierrez, Bianchi and Chilton, Van der Garde, Ricciardo and Charles Pic last of the 21 riders. There's Sebastian Vettel, and there's the gap back to second place. DRS available on the next lap, of course, and Kimi Räikkönen through on Lewis Hamilton. So Räikkönen moves up into 4th place. Hamilton just struggling a touch in the early stages.
Yes, he hasn't got the pace of that Lotus. The Lotus so quick in a straight line. He's falling back into the clutches now of his teammate. But they need... Let's watch Sutil, because he's the fastest man out there on the medium compound tyre. He's 10th at the moment. But as he crosses the line, he's 10 seconds already off the lead. This is playing into the hands of Vettel.
And this is how Kimi Räikkönen managed to get past Lewis Hamilton. Went the long way round.
And here's a replay of the start. You can see Mark Webber at the front of the queue on the right-hand side, just getting mugged from every direction, basically. Then when you're out of kilter in terms of speed, you're out of synchronization, it's really difficult not to have an accident at that point. And somehow, and unusually, we saw no contact in turn 1 or turn 3.
Yeah, Perez did very well to avoid contact with Adrian Sutil as he locked up his brakes. Watch Lewis Hamilton blocking off Fernando Alonso there. Alonso kind of leaving himself in no man's land there and unable to get past his faster starting teammate.
It was difficult to understand exactly why that was such a bad start for Mark when we were on board. The Ferrari, whoa, that was heading into a wedge that was forever going to close, and Fernando spotted that a mile off and got out of it. So this then is the fight down to turn 3 on the opening lap. Hamilton versus Alonso. Alonso fancies a look around the outside of his teammate as well. Very bold driving.
Sergio Perez, the view from his car, I said he got a little bit close to Adrian Sutil. He manages to get past the Toro Rosso, but then there's a few lock up their brakes. Oh, look, they very, very nearly touched wheels. The Toro Rosso on the grass, squirming away, and Perez, they both got the use of DRS as they try and catch the race leader. Sergio Perez now has Romain Grosjean in his sights. We play Perez now running up in 9th place, and Daniel Ricciardo and Guido van der Garde swapping places. Ricciardo up now to 14th, and Felipe Massa comes to rejoin the race. Here comes Sebastian Vettel down the pit straight. He's passed Pastor Maldonado. Crucially, he's ahead of Felipe Massa as well. Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest lap of the race. Now he comes through turn 1. Felipe Massa still ahead of Fernando Alonso. Kimi Räikkönen will be behind the Williams, which is taken to the grass. Pastor Maldonado struggling a bit there. That's not going to hold Kimi Räikkönen up. Did the Finn a favour.
He did him a huge favour. That was Maldonado getting distracted, I think, of everything that was going on in front of him. Missed his braking point a little bit, and that is a massive release for Kimi Räikkönen.
DRS used by Vettel, still not enough to get past Sergio Perez into turn 1, but how long can Perez hold up Sebastian Vettel, of course, on the medium compound tyres? He's not pitting anytime soon.
And to
The answer is not very long, as round the outside goes Sebastian Vettel, and he moves up past the McLaren of Sergio Perez.
And he's struggling for grip a little bit, but they've all cruised past him around the outside and reasonably easily. Once again, then Kimi Räikkönen does a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:31.9. But even if Mercedes can do one less stop, they're going to be losing 1.5 seconds per lap. They're going to lose a pit stop.
We must surely be watching the clouds above and maybe the chance of rain as we see a replay. Under control, Vettel moving himself up into 4th place. The 3 ahead of him, Hamilton, Rosberg and Sutil, yet to stop. And the only other drivers yet to stop in this race. To give both drivers a chance in this race as we ride on board with Felipe Massa getting squeezed towards the concrete wall, but he manages to get ahead of Sergio Perez into turn 13, and he's free from the rear wing of the McLaren, and he can start to chase Daniel Ricciardo for Toro Rosso. 21 drivers running. Nico Hülkenberg didn't start the Grand Prix because of that problem with the fuel system, and for safety reasons Sauber decided not to race. Alonso getting bogged down behind Perez, running on those medium compound tyres. Now he's got DRS, should be able to blast his way past down the main straight.
Perez has been on these tyres since the start of the race, but he's going to have to get a bit more feisty if he wants to be winning against these boys. And he's struggling for grip a little bit, but they've all cruised past him around the outside and reasonably easily. Once again, then Kimi Räikkönen does a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:31.9. But even if
here in Australia, which means he still hasn't completed a lap. Here is Kimi Räikkönen, moves past Sergio Perez. Not often you see a driver getting past on the entry into that chicane.
No, Perez is clearly struggling for grip.
At the end of the last lap, but interestingly, Sutil and Vettel's lap time were pretty identical on lap 14. Rosberg comes back into the race behind Daniel Ricciardo in the Toro Rosso, and just ahead of Jenson Button, but for how much longer? Button would quite like to use this opportunity. Rosberg on the slightly colder tyres to try and get past the Mercedes here. Has he got the grip? Has he got the pace to go around the outside? And no, he hasn't. Mark Webber closing up on Jenson Button behind, and there's Paul di Resta in the background. It's evidence there of the McLaren's lack of pace, not able to get anywhere near the Mercedes.
Poor old Mark Webber, having that bad start and then the early stop, it put him back into the pack, and he lost a lot of time in traffic. So instead of clearing the traffic nicely a little bit later on, like his teammate did.
So you need to look after these tyres, but keep Jenson behind you.
Easy. Sutil's about 1/10 of a second faster as he leads a Grand Prix for the first time ever. And we see Rosberg and Button going through turn 1, got very close, didn't they? Red Bull were trying to bring Sebastian Vettel in and flip it in the pit stops. It hasn't happened, and there goes through the Ferrari of Fernando Alonso. Sebastian Vettel.
Oh, he's done it. He's done it around
Alonso
the outside.
goes past Sutil. Vettel now behind both of them.
But this is the juicy action for the potential winner of the Grand Prix, isn't it?
How well has that worked out?
Well, either we go for it now and you see what you can do. Now you've got a free track in front of you. Let's see what you can do.
So, no intention there, you would imagine, to bring Felipe Massa in the next half a lap. Either way, his teammate Fernando Alonso, by coming in early, has managed to jump the previous race leader Adrian Sutil and Sebastian Vettel pretty much at the same time.
Okay, this won't have worked out particularly well for Massa,
no.
I predict.
Meanwhile, Mark Webber past Sergio Perez, and Webber moves himself up into 10th place and back into the points again. Massa comes in now.
So, did I hear him say he wants to two-stop? He wants to try and two-stop? Is that? Do you think that's what he said?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and they've given him that chance. So Ferrari split the strategy now by demand of Felipe Massa, who's got Kimi Räikkönen in very close company.
It's a 1:33.1 for Felipe Massa on his last lap. Let's just see how much faster his teammate Fernando Alonso is lapping on fresher tyres as he crosses the line now with a 1:32.4, so 7/10 of a second difference. And Adrian Sutil ahead there of Sebastian Vettel, who will now be desperate to get past that Force India. Right on board with him, has DRS available on the run down towards turn 3, getting ever closer. Can he get past on the inside? Brilliant under braking. Has he gone too deep? No, he hasn't. Excellent stuff from Sebastian Vettel, and Adrian Sutil is finally behind him.
Imagine how good Vettel will be when he can actually overtake and all those things he apparently can't do. That was from 30 metres back. It was awesome.
Sensational. Down to you, Ted.
Yeah, no, that was sweet work from Ferrari, wasn't it? I bet Felipe Massa's message was more or less, you know, what are you doing to me here? But it's worked beautifully for Fernando Alonso. We'll see what happens now that Sebastian Vettel has been released. But guys, this is all going to be so many more storylines to be played out. This is all going to be about tyre life at the end, isn't it? Oh, and as I say that, Ferrari are getting ready for Felipe Massa. Okay, they're going to bring him in. Okay, this won't have worked out particularly.
He was 20 seconds or so ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso as Kimi Räikkönen now leads this race, but that 20 seconds is not going to be enough to keep him ahead. That advantage of Fernando Alonso by the time he comes out, even with a fairly good pit stop from the Ferrari crew. You can see the red of Alonso coming down the main straight, but can Massa come out ahead of Sebastian Vettel? No, he can't. He's not going to be ahead of Adrian Sutil either. Luckily for him, crumb of comfort, I'm sure, he's ahead of Guido van der Garde, who's been lapped in the Caterham on his first Grand Prix. Oh dear, Williams beached and in the gravel, past to Maldonado, who ended his Australian Grand Prix by hitting the wall this time last year and has ended up on the beach far too early in the gravel and out of the race.
Looks like he was doing the pits, doesn't it?
No, that's going nowhere, however fast he spins those rear wheels.
It's not really a safety car scenario. I wouldn't have thought. They should be able to clear that away and cover it under single wave yellow. So now,
can you keep going past or not? Okay, past you, just switch off the car if you can't go.
And as a result of that stranded Williams, DRS has been disabled so that the drivers can exercise slightly more caution going into turn one. Down to you, Ted.
I believe he was due in sometime. Sorry, here's a replay, David. You do the replay.
Yeah, well, he just got on the yellow line, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he actually dipped the left rear into the dirt even.
But the mechanics were out in the pit lane because Bottas, his teammate, had just made a stop.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah. So, I'm surprised there's not double waved yellows now with men on the track. But a dozen seconds out front. But we still have a tremendous race that's going to shape up, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't actually know. Oh, what's that? The Mercedes going off?
Left rear puncture, is it?
It is. Nico Rosberg.
No.
And pulling over to the side of the track. Remember, this car had a problem with his gearbox on Saturday morning. And, well, some waves from the fans, but he will not want to be waving back much. Rosberg is out of the Australian Grand Prix. What has happened there? Running in the top three, Nico Rosberg forlornly climbs out of his Mercedes. Earlier today, looking so good for him, wasn't it? Fastest in Q2, excelling in the wet, running in the top three in the race, but his race is now over. You would imagine mechanical problem.
Again, the car's well out of harm's way there, so no need for a safety car or anything like that. Big lock-up, nasty lock-up there. Edge the left rear onto the line and the dirt. The track's dirty down there anyway. You can see the dust being kicked up when we get the camera angle looking back down the pit straight. Just into there is where he went off.
I think Alonso's got the message about the threat of Raikkonen as well, as we watch Felipe Massa now. Some spots of rain on the camera lens down at turn 3. Sutil's once again got him covered. Massa trying to find a gap somewhere, probing, looking for the opening. It's not coming yet. His teammate has just set his fastest lap of the race so far. Is Alonso going to have to stop one more time than Raikkonen, though? Can Raikkonen turn this into a two-stop race? Is that what they're trying to do at Lotus? If they are, it's working.
Okay, Kimi, we're expecting a very light shower, a short, light shower. If we can stay out, it'll be good. But you just let us know.
So that'll spoil it to an extent if they end up going on to intermediates. That's the crowd then, always a good sign. You spot that even from the cockpit of the car. Umbrellas, you spot faces all looking one way. Rainproof gear going on. water streaming a little bit off your visor at 190 miles an hour as well. Always looks much worse on your visor than it does in reality. You have to look at the track and stop or ignore just how much water there appears to be on your visor.
Now Nico Rosberg's out of this race. Who might fancy a bit of rain out there? Who might it benefit, I wonder? 7/10 of a second, the difference on the last lap between the two of them. And this will be helping Alonso catch Raikkonen a bit, using the DRS to give him extra pace behind Lewis Hamilton, of course.
Right now, Alonso's favourite to win this race. Can't afford any mistakes.
Can't get past Lewis Hamilton on this occasion. The gap between Alonso and Raikkonen now 12.5 seconds. And it's DRS once again on the run down towards turn 3. Goes wide to the left-hand side as Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton has that covered. And this is a battle that you want to see time and time again. Hamilton and Alonso, former teammates, huge amount of respect for each other as Formula One drivers, and both at the top of their game.
Alonso on a three-stop. Yes, he is, Lewis. Yes, he is. But we still want to keep him behind. That's not going to happen. He's going to get my DRS now.
He's managed to keep him behind on this lap so far. DRS not helping Fernando Alonso. And look, he's all over the rear wing of that Mercedes. You can almost sense his desperation as he pulls round to the outside, down towards turn 11 we go. Hamilton once again has it covered.
He should be quick out of 12 though, should Alonso, and he'll flick left now, and he's got a chance then breaking down the outside.
Well, Hamilton's got the inside line here, locks up, he's going far too fast, but in the end, he manages to keep the car under control and stay ahead of the Ferrari. Not going to win the battle, and win the war, I should say, in the end. Won a couple of battles, and he's now got Sebastian Vettel right behind him as well. So Alonso picked his moment and gets past, and Hamilton dives into the pits.
So that's going to be in 7th place.
Let's just have a little look here as Lewis Hamilton had made his move, so therefore Alonso was free to go round to the left, locked up his brakes and somehow managed to stay ahead, and keep the car under control.
What impressed me far more in that situation was Alonso recognised all of that, didn't turn in, just gave him the space. He could see in his mirror that Hamilton was out of control, and he just waits, look.
It's an easy thing to think about in hindsight, isn't it? But around about 190 miles an hour, things happen a little bit faster.
Yeah, I've done both. I've turned in and had the unnecessary accident, and another time.
3-stop might be the norm, but you'll try and do a 2-stop because it is slightly faster on paper. Back marker just getting in the way a little bit of Sebastian Vettel. Down to you, Ted.
No, indeed it is, and just on Lewis, he's been told, OK, Lewis, you've got 27 laps of the race remaining. So it's difficult to say with this medium tyre, because on some people's cars on Friday practice, we saw very, very little degradation, but just don't know what's going to happen. So again, it's just going to be an experiment. They'll try to stick with the 2 if they can, and just keep it open for Lewis Hamilton. Intriguing battle to come, but I'm just wondering what's happened to Red Bull Racing's race. Vettel's got good lap time speed, but just having to stop early like they did because of Sutil, and then getting done by Alonso has really messed it up for him.
Sutil was the key here as well. 21 laps he did at the start on the heaviest load of fuel on the medium compound tyre. Now that fuel's burnt away and the track's rubbing in more, can Hamilton stretch it out to 27 laps?
The track's only 20 degrees though, isn't it? It was 35 when they were checking these tyres out on Friday. Big difference there, and you get this shearing effect. The rubber shears on the surface rather than grips, and it gets called graining. Sutil gamely hanging on there. What a job he's doing. Super impressed with that first time back, and keeping Massa at bay. And now Alonso, because he lost a bit, he lost 3 seconds to Raikkonen in that squabble with Lewis Hamilton. Now he's got to gain that back again.
Jean-Eric Verne has Romain Grosjean just ahead of him, and Jenson Button just ahead of Grosjean. 3 cars in close proximity. Down into turn 1 they go. Once again, Toro Rosso quite like it here at Albert Park. Often in the points for the last 5 races in Melbourne. The team have scored points. Currently occupying the last of the points places as it stands. There he goes around turn 1, and Alonso back out into the race. That's Bianchi coming through in the Marussia to unlap himself from Fernando Alonso, and there's Lewis Hamilton being passed by Sebastian Vettel. Vettel moves himself up into 4th place with Felipe Massa right on Hamilton's heels as well.
Sutil leads again, but he has to stop. He has to stop because he hasn't run the super soft tyres and it hasn't rained.
Sort of an advantage can he keep over this man, Sebastian Vettel? That might be the podium places decided there as we watch Vettel once again getting past Lewis Hamilton, and that's a move he really had to make. 18 laps to go. We've lost Hulkenberg before we started, Maldonado into the gravel trap, and we've lost Nico Rosberg as well. We'll hear from him in 2 seconds.
It is more light rain falling, light rain in the left sector.
As Felipe Massa sizes up Lewis Hamilton going through 11 and 12, and no room passed on that occasion. Now this is where Fernando Alonso put Hamilton under extreme pressure about 10 laps ago. Once again, Massa, the Ferrari, dives to the left-hand side, and it's a lot easier for him. Past Hamilton he goes, and his pace...
Lewis let him through. He knew there was no point in fighting that one.
So Hamilton now moves down another place, and we can hear from his teammate, Nico Rosberg. It's a flexible day with tyre graining, as Nico Rosberg said, and the strategists very much kept on their toes. But Alonso is catching Raikkonen at a rapid rate of knots as we go on board with Mark Webber in 9th place. Paul di Resta is the car just ahead of him, but for how much longer? Well, at least for another couple of corners in a straight, but it's DRS once again for Mark Webber. Into the 2nd zone we go, and di Resta is under threat. But just didn't quite have the pace to get past the Force India on that occasion. Di Resta in 8th place, Webber in 9th. Not where Webber would have expected to have been fighting his battles at the start of a race. Well, the race that he started, of course, on the front row.
2 Force Indias ahead of 2 Red Bulls.
Just as we predicted.
On the track. Yes. Yes. So, Alonso then.
Here we go again. He's going to try down into the chicane.
Into T9.
Under braking.
Brave stuff there from Mark Webber, taking no prisoners whatsoever. Nice one.
Yeah, it matters not that that's a battle for 8th place. Mark Webber will be hugely satisfied with that. Behind Alonso. Laps on the last lap, actually a little bit quicker. I wonder if Alonso had a bit of traffic.
So that's Raikkonen then taking the lead back from Adrian Sutil. So Raikkonen knows he has got to get on with it, and his time then with that, including that overtaking with a 31.5, Alonso's going to be massively quicker than that.
A 1:29.6 for Fernando Alonso. And that's how Kimi Räikkönen got close to Adrian Sutil, but plenty of daylight between them, no contact whatsoever. And Raikkonen into the lead, but now watching Fernando Alonso chasing.
Just 4.5 behind, 4.5 seconds it is now, and he's got to pass Sutil as well. Presumably Sutil will only come in and put those tyres on that he needs to put on in literally the last lap of the race, I'd imagine, or maybe 2 or 3 to go.
I think Adrian Sutil wouldn't mind if it rained a little bit here, because he's got to stop and the other 2 don't.
Well, how long do you think those super soft would last now when the track's rubbered in a little bit? You wouldn't want to put them on for more than 5 or 6 laps, would you? I'd have thought.
14 laps. It's not quite sure that you want to be on for that long. There's Mark Webber past Jean-Eric Vergne rather easily, and certainly easier than his move on Paul di Resta
for 7th. So Webber's having a much stronger end to the Grand Prix than he did at the beginning, and Alonso's on another flyer now, David.
Yeah, he is, and he's going to be within 1 second of Adrian Sutil going through the DRS detection zone. It's exactly where he is at the moment, so whether Sutil pits or not, he's going to have the use of that DRS down the straight, and that's going to give him extra pace in what is his ultimate pursuit of Kimi Räikkönen. Ferrari absolutely flying at the hands of Alonso there. He is still behind Adrian Sutil though, as we watch Mark Webber, home favourite at the moment, going around in 7th place, and Lewis Hamilton just ahead of him. I remember those 2 battling for 6th place here a few years ago, and it ended up with a coming together down at turn 13.
When Sutil pits, he's going to end up back in 5th place, I'm afraid, behind Felipe Massa.
But on a much fresher set of tyres. Whether he's actually able to chase Massa down at the moment, though. There's about 11 seconds between them, so it's asking an awful lot. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, I've been on my travels amongst the garages. First of all, into the Red Bull garage. Miserable place that is. Everyone really glum. I asked if there are any sort of particular problems with the cars that we should know about, and they said there aren't. So we haven't lost curves or anything like that. They're just struggling with the pace. Went into Ferrari to say why Felipe Massa come in after that very short stint. They said, well, it was planned, it was tactical. So, well, we know there's nothing that he had to come in after that for that third stint, for that third stop very quickly after his second. And apparently after Toro Rosso, it was indeed a broken exhaust, but we'll confirm that later.
Sutil getting the blue lights there, which is not correct because he's not obliged to let this man through. I think it's very
force of habit.
Very easy to see a Force India in front of a Ferrari thinking you've got to let him through, but Sutil, such is the quality of his drive today, is ahead.
For how much longer, I was going to say, and a little bit longer. This is helping Raikkonen, of course.
Such a short braking zone for turn 1. It's not really a legitimate overtaking place, but turn 3 is, that's for sure, and that's where they're heading now.
Easy peasy, and he moves through, does Fernando Alonso, and he has now got round about 13.5 laps to get to Kimi Räikkönen and challenge for the lead. Meanwhile, a little battle further back, Max Chilton and Guido van der Garde. And this is how Alonso got past Sutil. The DRS did help massively there. And of course a fresher set of tyres on the Ferrari.
Lucky didn't lose his front wing there, that was very close.
So game on then.
Yeah, Sutil I think knew he's no point in, that was actually, as he's got to pit again, really not too much point in that fight, but it cost Alonso over Raikkonen half a second. And this lap, Raikkonen is a lot faster as well. On the obviously it's the lap where Alonso finished the pass. So it's giving Raikkonen a little bit of breathing space. Still plenty of distance though, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking for Adrian Sutil now that he has been passed by Fernando Alonso. Is it worth getting him in to put on the super soft tyres, give him chance at Force India to chase down Felipe Massa? He's losing quite a bit of time lap after lap to Massa at the moment. Look, here goes Max Chilton and Guido van der Garde into turn 1, and van der Garde just shuts the door, and that caught Chilton by surprise a little bit with the Ferrari waiting to lap them, and Sutil does come into the pits for the super soft tyres, and now he can chase after Felipe Massa.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's got nothing to lose really. He's got plenty of space between him and Hamilton.
Since then, you just kind of knew that these two would get close together in one of the opening races, and here we are seeing it. But such is the pace difference that Hamilton has at the moment. It might be a slightly easier job to get past the Force India that on the medium compound tyre looks an absolute different beast to the one that Sutil is handling at the moment.
Hamilton's got the much faster package, hasn't he? And look who's that cruising up behind the Mark Webber as well.
Look at the tyres on that Force India. They should be fresh, but there's no wonder he's struggling so much out there with the graining that is taking place. Hamilton has a half a look into turn 1. Meanwhile, up ahead, 7.4 seconds the difference between Raikkonen and Alonso after 50 laps.
Well, that's why I wondered if they'd just put those on literally at the end of the race, because it's cost them at the moment. And they really are then wheel to wheel.
Hey,
this is personal.
It would mean a huge amount for Adrian Sutil to finish in the top 5. It's going to be a superhuman effort, I think, to keep that Mercedes at bay between now and the checkered flag. And he's doing his best, and the longer he keeps Hamilton behind, and the more Hamilton's tyres get affected, the more Mark Webber gets interested in that Red Bull as well, as Jean-Eric Vergne now sets a new fastest lap of the race as Hamilton dives down the inside. They're still waving the blue flags for Adrian Sutil, and Mark Webber now might just complete Sutil's misery. Hamilton has passed him, and Webber, by the time we get into the next turn, could well do exactly the same. Webber's on the marbles though. That's not where you want to be entering turn 11, that close to the inside, and that won't help the grip levels on the Red Bull.
No, that was crucial there, because Mark needed to clear him quickly if he wants to stay on to Hamilton, but he's got track position now. But Mark's been off in this Grand Prix on that corner before, but this time the pass is made. Sutil has got no grip, no traction, and well, they made a poor call as it turns out. You can see for yourself just how ugly his rear tyres look. Look at the middle part of those, where the tyre's working hardest. Now what's he got to do? What's behind him is Paul Di Resta, his teammates coming at him.
Wouldn't be at all surprised if Di Resta can't chase him down a bit, such as the struggles that Sutil's getting there.
And this is the man that's twice led this afternoon's Grand Prix.
And had the indignity of blue flags being waved at him as well as Lewis Hamilton came up behind him. You mentioned it before, and
yeah.
they were doing it again when Hamilton dived down the inside, which is a slightly poor call. Di Resta, by the way, now 12 seconds behind Adrian Sutil. He was 6 and a bit seconds quicker on the last lap. That's how ugly the tyres are. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, just peering into the Lotus garage. The pit wall is calm. The mechanics are calm. No legs jiggling around, all keeping it pretty easy. I'm told that there's not much radio traffic to Kimi Räikkönen over the transmissions. We know that he doesn't really like to hear that. He knows the score. He knows what he needs to do with his tyres, because he also knows the last 3 laps will decide this race.
If there is any radio traffic, Martin, I would imagine it's pretty one way. A long way off Raikkonen and falling behind Fernando Alonso as well. Those tyres look good enough if you're sat leading the race or not?
Well, there's pickup on them, but it's different from graining, that sort of dull stuff you get in the middle of the tyre. I mean, the front tyres are working hard, you can see that, and you get pickup.
What he does say is worth listening to. Let's see what happened to Fernando Alonso. Oh dear. The back marker got right in his way there. Now, Brazil last year preserving its tyres, and look, Raikkonen and Grosjean benefiting from just that method. He's ahead now of Sergio Perez and closing down on Jenson Button. In fact, actually, Grosjean's actually lost an awful lot on this lap. Thought for a minute that he was closing on Button, but he's just looking at the timing screens. He lost 3.5 seconds on the last lap. That's why Perez is all over the rear end. Whether he made a mistake or it's just the tyres going off the cliff, I'm not sure.
Well, it seems a funny thing to say, but that would be a massive relief for McLaren if they could get 2 cars into the points, even if it is 9th and 10th. Look what the Kimi Räikkönen's just done. While we're watching that, a 29-2 game, set and match. Raikkonen has just put manners on Alonso to say, forget it, you're not getting anywhere near me.
Remember, this is the man on the current longest point scoring streak, Kimi Räikkönen. He should make that 18th. Today, there's only 1 lap he didn't complete in the whole of last season. That's when he got lapped in Brazil because he went the wrong way and found a locked gate. And he really is just picking up where he left off. No rustiness this time around that maybe he showed in the early stages last year on his return. He's going to be a real force to be reckoned with in 2013. It's been a race without incident for him, isn't it? Just quietly gone about his business. A first win of the season in the opening race of the season when he stood on top of the podium before. Here in Albert Park, he was a Ferrari driver. Today he's beaten both of the Ferraris. It's the checkered flag coming out for Kimi Räikkönen here in Australia. Raikkonen wins the first Grand Prix of the season and starts off with absolute perfection. Fernando Alonso for Ferrari on the podium and ahead of Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel, the man who started out in front, the earlier leader, now comes home to complete the top 3.